NFL running back Fred Lane was shot to death at his own house. Fred's life and untimely death were marked by a series of events.
The tragic death of Fred Lane, shot by his own wife, stands as one of the most heartbreaking and shocking moments in NFL history. Lane's death on July 6, 2000 is one of the most chilling and deeply tragic stories. It's a tale of love, betrayal, and an unfathomable act of violence. On that summer day, Fred's life came to an abrupt and brutal end at the hands of his wife Deidre Lane as he walked into their home. The details of his death are horrifying. Fred's keys were still in the lock of the door when Deidre fired two deadly shots from a 12-gauge shotgun. The first blast hit him in the chest, likely stopping him in his tracks, and the second, a devastating shot to the back of his head at point-blank range, left no doubt about the fatal intent. What makes this story even more unsettling is what unfolded in the years that followed. In 2003, Deidre Lane pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter, but the court case was anything but straightforward. The prosecutors painted Deidre as a manipulative and abusive woman who had plotted to kill her husband, motivated by financial gain. They argued that she wanted to cash in on Fred's life insurance policy, turning their home into the setting of a calculated and cold-blooded crime. On the other hand, her defense attorneys presented a very different narrative. They described Deidre as a woman pushed to her limits, claiming she was a victim of domestic abuse. They argued that the shooting was an act of self-defense, an act of desperation from someone who felt trapped and entangled. It's hard to reconcile these two conflicting images, the heartless killer versus the battered wife. Both sides offered their own version of the truth, and it was up to the court to make sense of it. In the end, the judge didn't fully buy the self-defense argument. Deidre was sentenced to 7 years and 11 months in prison. The judge ruled that her actions were deliberate, premeditated, and carried out with malice. What stands out as especially haunting is the assertion that she fired the second shot after Fred was already down and helpless. That single detail, pulling the trigger again, knowing he was incapacitated, adds a chilling layer to the tragedy. It's the kind of act that leaves you grappling with questions about what was truly going through her mind in those moments. But the story doesn't stop there. Deidre was also entangled in legal troubles unrelated to Fred's death. She had been facing federal charges for conspiracy to commit bank larceny. She pleaded guilty to that charge as well and served 4 months before her sentencing for Fred's death. Her time in jail for that federal case was credited toward her manslaughter sentence, which might be one reason why she didn't serve the full term. After spending years behind bars, Deidre was released on March 3, 2009, leaving many to wonder if justice had truly been served. The whole case is a grim reminder of how complex human relationships can be and how they can sometimes spiral into unimaginable violence. Lane was a promising NFL player with a bright future ahead of him, beloved by teammates and fans alike. Yet behind closed doors, his life was unraveling in ways few could have guessed. Deidre's story, whether you see her as a villain or victim, adds layers of tragedy to what was already a heartbreaking loss. Lane's life was a story of determination, talent, and a path seemingly destined for greatness until it was tragically cut short. Born and raised in Franklin, Tennessee, Fred had a natural athleticism that had set him apart from an early age. His father, Fred Lane Sr., was a local football star at the old Natchez High School before it desegregated with Franklin High. It was clear from the start that Fred Jr. had inherited his father's talent and perhaps even surpassed it. Coaches quickly recognized that Fred wasn't just another talented kid, he was special. His speed and agility were extraordinary for someone his age, and he made it look effortless. By the time he reached Franklin High School, Fred was a force to be reckoned with. His senior year was nothing short of incredible. He rushed for over 1,000 yards, averaging a jaw-dropping 7.5 yards per carry. Every time he touched the ball, it felt like something magical could happen. The school retired his number 28 as a testament to the mark he left on their football program. After high school, Fred's journey led him to Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee, where his legacy grew even larger. Over the course of his college career, he became the school's all-time leading rusher with a staggering 3,612 yards. To this day, his name is etched in the record books for his outstanding achievements. In 1995, he rushed for 1,853 yards in a single season, a record that still stood as of 2012. That same year, he showcased his dominance in a game against Miles College, rushing for an astonishing 305 yards. These aren't just numbers, they're a reflection of Fred's work ethic, passion, and pure love for the game. Fred's talents didn't go unnoticed. In 1995, he was on the watch list for the Harlan Hill Trophy, awarded to the best player in NCAA Division II. He also earned spots on multiple All-American teams, including the prestigious Heritage Radio HBCU All-American list. Lane College honored him by retiring his number 6, ensuring his legacy would never be forgotten. Despite his incredible college career, Fred's path to the NFL wasn't easy. He wasn't drafted, which might have discouraged a lesser player, but Fred wasn't one to give up. He signed with the Carolina Panthers as an undrafted free agent before the 1997 NFL season, determined to prove everyone who overlooked him wrong, and prove them wrong he did. Fred burst onto the NFL scene like a man on a mission. His rookie season was remarkable, and he quickly set several franchise records for the Panthers. Even though he wasn't always a starter, his impact was undeniable. In 1997 and 1998, Fred led the team in rushing attempts, yards, and touchdowns, showing the kind of consistency that NFL coaches dream of. By the end of his 3 seasons with the Panthers, he had accumulated 2,001 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns, becoming the franchise's all-time leading rusher at the time. Unfortunately, Fred's time with the Panthers came to an end in 1999 when the team began to lean more on another back, Tim Biakabutuka. In 2000, Fred was traded to the Indianapolis Colts, a move that could have signaled the next chapter in his career. It's heartbreaking to think what could have been. He was only 24 years old, with plenty of football left in him and the potential to solidify himself as one of the league's premier running backs. Lane's life was full of promise, both on and off the field. His story wasn't just about football, it was about resilience, hard work, and the pursuit of greatness. He had already achieved so much, yet it felt like his best years were still ahead of him. Tragically, he never got the chance to fulfill that promise. When reflecting on Fred's life, one can't help but imagine the heights he might have reached if not for the devastating events of July 6, 2000. His story is a poignant reminder of how fragile life can be and how even the brightest stars can be extinguished far too soon. It's hard not to feel a mix of emotions when reflecting on this case: anger at the senseless loss of life, sadness for the destruction of a family, and frustration at the unanswered questions that still linger. What was the tipping point in their relationship? Was it truly about money, or was there more to the story that we'll never fully know? Fred Lane's death isn't just a statistic or a headline. It's a sobering reminder of how quickly lives can be shattered and how fragile the line between love and tragedy can be. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. Make sure to subscribe to NFL Icons for more such videos, and while you're at it, hit that like button too.